Now that we've added our housekeeping fields to track the timestamp when a record was created, the timestamp when it was modified, the account that created it, and the account that modified it, we can click OK. And the first thing you'll notice is it adds those fields to the layout. It didn't auto-enter the data in here because we don't have a second record in here. The first record existed before the fields were created, so if we create another record, such as go to new record, you'll see all this data gets entered now. It won't go into the existing records. That's the way auto-enter works. It happens as you create a new record, at least the create ones. Now if you come back here and we type something in and then click out of here, you'll see that these two updated. You'll never get the creation and the count creation time and date and account in there. It just will never happen unless you actually type it in. Now, you may like having the fields automatically added to this layout, and it may make sense in a simple scenario. And this is a simple scenario, a contact manager. But as we move on to the invoicing solution in the intermediate and advanced tutorials, we're going to find out that FileMaker adding these fields on here can be destructive. And usually most seasoned developers take the option off to add newly defined fields to the current layout. Let's go in and check that out. Go to Preferences, and if you're on Windows, you'll see Preferences at the end of the Edit menu. And if we go to the Layout section, we'll see the option that's checked when you install FileMaker. I like to uncheck it. I don't want to add newly defined fields to the current layout. There's many reasons. First of all, these fields may not belong on the current layout. You may have a list view that you're on when you're defining those fields, and it will mess your list view up and you'll just have to remove the fields. And it's very important to focus in on that messing up the interface. Let's say you have tons of graphics and it's all, your interface is perfect, and you create some new fields that maybe are not even on any layout, they're used in a script or something like that, and FileMaker automatically puts them on the current layout. It'll move everything down and put those fields in there and mess up your entire layout. It's really not a good idea, so I would highly recommend changing that in Preferences right away. Let's go back into Manage Database and take a look at how things work in here, how we can modify fields, and how we can play around with the order of how things display. So we're going to start by coming in and changing a field. I'm going to click on Address To and change it to a date field. Now notice that it's still a text field until I hit Change. It's going to give me a warning. That's okay. And now it's a date field. So it's very important to remember that you have to hit Change down here, but it doesn't have to be so on everything that you change. I can come into Options and do Creation Date and click OK and never had to hit Change, but you can see that creation date is on there now. Let's go ahead and delete this field. We'll hit Delete and realize that this will permanently delete the field and all of the field data, anything you typed into browse mode. It's gone. Now, as we know, we can hit Cancel here and get it back if we want, and we will do that so that it comes back, or maybe we won't. It all depends on what we want. But you got to remember that once you click OK here, that will be permanently deleted. It's gone forever. Let's go ahead and try recreating it here so we don't have to hit Cancel and discard. Let's duplicate the address field. And all we have to do is come in here and change this to a number 2 and then hit Change. Now you notice it's way down here because we're viewing in creation order. We'll get back to that in a second. What you also want to realize about duplicating fields is it can make things very easy. For instance, if I duplicate my timestamp create field, it will take all these options along with it. So if I was trying to do my timestamp mod or something like that, it might make it easier to duplicate with all those options. Now, if you want to have your address 2 up by your address 1, you can drag it up here. Now notice that now it says custom order. We can go back to creation order, and you'll see address 2 comes back down here. Or we can go back to our custom order, and that's the order in which we decide to organize the fields. You also have other options such as field name. This is sorted alphabetically, and you can see now our naming conventions are working for us. as far as names being next to each other and things like that, and timestamps being next to each other, and also accounts being next to each other. And you also have by field type. We don't have very many field types in here, but you can see now timestamps are next to each other, all the dates would be next to each other, and so on. My preferred method is field name, and the reason I like that is because it sorts by the field name, and you can very quickly find a field by typing the first couple of letters. You just highlight any field here, and then type in N for name, and it goes right down to that. If you don't have them in alphabetical order, it might not go to the right one. It'll certainly still use type ahead, but it may take a while to get to what you want. And of course, you can sort these by clicking here. You notice it changes the field type and changes the field name. Now, when you click on this one, it's a little different story. It changes the view. Notice that now you're looking at comments, and remember, company is only one that has a comment. And now you're looking at all the options on these fields. So it's up to you how you do things as far as these options right here. I don't really use the options, I more want to see the comments, but it's up to you. Everybody works differently. Everybody likes to see their database differently. There's lots of options here. Also want to point out that you have a print button here. If you want to print all these fields out, you can print them out right from here. So that's a good overview of how to work with this dialog, because you'll be with it a lot. And notice that when we click OK, that address 2 disappeared, right? Well, the problem is now is that it still exists. If we go back into Manage Database, you can still see that address 2 is there, but the original one was deleted. And we also told not to add the field, so we're going to have to add this field to the layout later on.